Foreman from Twister Sisters again today, and I want to focus on our mini twister tool. As you know, there are 6 different sizes of the tool. The mini twister tool we developed in 2016 because we thought, boy, the little jelly roll strips are getting kind of lonely, because we used the large 10-inch squares for the big twister, we used the 5-inch squares for the little twister, and we thought it'd be fun to do something with the strips. So the idea behind the mini twister tool, and again, all of the tools come with a project that you can make. So I want to show you how the mini twister runner is made. So it's just a little project suggestion in here. But what you do is it only requires 4 different 2.5-inch strips and then a background fabric, so the navy in this case. And you create little 4 patches with your 2.5-inch strips, and then lay them out so you're kind of rotating. You see where the position of the different 4 colors are. And then once you have that layout, you end up doing the cutting for the twister the same way that we did when I showed you in the other video. So for example, I just want to show you here that I had cut out these pieces. I recommend you can use your regular 45mm rotary cutter if you're really careful, because remember, always we don't want to go too far beyond the perimeter so we don't cut into the next fabric. I find I have much more control if I use like a 28mm for the mini twister and smaller size. So that's just an idea there. And as a refresher for how we do the cutting, we're going to cut around the perimeter, okay? And 1 cut, 2 cut, 3 cut, 4 cut. Carefully pick them up and rotate them. So this is the first row. You could either sew it together now or maybe put a number 1 pin and wait. And hey, wait a minute, these aren't the same color like they were when we did the other twister. That's because the magic of doing it this way, that we want multicolored pinwheel points. So it makes it even more important to keep track of the position that you're doing it, okay? Then the next row here, when it was cut, 1, 2, 3, 4. Pick those up carefully so I can start to see the pinwheel form. And voila, there's that pinwheel, and that's identical to here's my finished runner. So you would just keep going row by row, maybe you know, sew each one at a time, you know, press one way, press the other. And then when you get all done, it recommends, as always, to maybe put a thin border on it because it's so stretchy. But the fun thing with this version is with the little leftover piece that when we cut, if you were really careful and didn't cut too far into those areas, you can save those. And so in this example that my friend Luann pieced, she used those little leftover pieces to make cute little coasters. And that's kind of described, it just gives a suggestion of what you can do with the leftovers. Not a lot of detailed instructions, but what you could do. And then here's an example in the red, white, and blue. Put those together and make like a pot holder. And here's just an example of a version of the runner Lisa made using some cave fabrics. So that's what comes with the actual mini twister tool, the instructions. I should also say that if you don't want to do multicolor pinwheels and use the 2.5-inch strips, you could just use 4.5-inch squares instead and get our traditional pinwheels. But I'd like to show you a couple other patterns because we have many other things that we've done with the mini twister tool. We have the ones behind me, the holiday ones. That's called Twister Wonderland. This one's called Jolly Twister. The one down to the left is called Bunny Twist. And we also have, there's 3 that are for, this one's called Twister Stroll. So we have 3, got kind of addicted to doing the cute little duckies. So we have Twister Splash, Twister Stroll, and Twister Sail. So this is me just making it with the mini twister tool size, but of course the pattern has instructions to make it from itty all the way up to midi twister tool size. So you can decide how big or small you'd like the project. I kind of like this to be more wall hanging, but let's say you wanted to make like a toddler quilt or bed quilt or throw for the holidays. That would be fun too. So besides those patterns shown is for Twister Sisters. We have things that work with the mini twister. The twister tray you might be familiar with some videos. We have these cute strip and twist, fun and easy placemats and matching runner. I think this tote also uses the mini twister tool. So a variety of things. And then Quilt Moments, you know, Marilyn Foreman, I also am Quilt Moments patterns. And for some of the twister things I've done, this mini twister rings pattern, a cute holiday runner. So you can see from our technique that we just used, and here there was 4 different colors. This I just used 4 different shades of greens to get the same effect. I think it kind of add a little pop, but it could be just a green square if you wanted. And this is a fun spring one I did with Kona Cotton's solids in it. There was like a contest for using this fun color yellow to pop at one spring market, I believe. And then I just wanted to kind of also show you, well, what I should say in the mini twister rings is it doesn't have to just be one. You could also make it to be a larger quilt. You just make individual rings. And then hot off the press, this year, I have Twister Love, a Quilt Moments twister pattern, and that comes in 5 different sizes. You can go from using the itty tool up to the midi twister tool. It doesn't have the large twister tool because that would be an incredibly ridiculously large size. It would be way bigger even than a king size. So if it doesn't say the size of the tool, I'd say don't do it, but you know, it's up to you. So I hope you have fun trying out the mini twister tool, and see you next time.